How are you all doing? Yesterday, Donald Trump held a press conference with Netanyahu, and in reality, Trump made a statement that almost no news agency reported, despite how extremely significant it was. Trump said that he hopes Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has a kind heart and willingly hands over Sinai to him. You'll hear exactly what he said in a moment. Now, this is the first statement. Would President el-Sisi actually hand over Sinai as Trump wishes? Keep in mind that all these statements were made just before Trump's scheduled meeting with President el-Sisi on the 18th of this month. The second issue is even more crucial. King Abdullah of Jordan has given orders for the Jordanian military to mobilize along the borders. You might say that this isn't true, that it's an exaggeration, or that it's just sensationalist journalism. But here's the source, and here's the report. By the way, Middle East Eye has revealed highly critical information about what's happening along the Jordanian-Israeli border. Finally, we have three extremely important articles. The first one is from CNN, which essentially serves as the media arm of the CIA discussing Trump's statements. The second is from Reuters, but the most important article, in my opinion, is the one from the Financial Times, which focuses on Trump's remarks. This is crucial news that you won't hear from our media or any Arab news agency because, simply put, all of these sources are from Western newspapers that are revealing shocking details about Trump's statements yesterday and the catastrophe he wants to create in Gaza by sending American troops there. Of course, before I explain all of this and uncover the truth, I need to give you the full context. The new information we have today might be different from anything you've heard before, especially regarding military movements along the borders. Let's start with the Financial Times article. There's no doubt that Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House yesterday and his meeting with Trump exceeded the expectations of the far-right, Netanyahu himself, and every extremist in Israel. Yesterday was like a dream come true for them. As evidence, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israel's national security minister who resigned from Netanyahu's government, said, "Our relationship with Trump is incredible, and it looks like he wants to come back to power." Meanwhile, Bezalel Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, responded to Trump's remarks about taking over Gaza by saying, "The time has come to work toward establishing a Palestinian state. Of course, you know that if they take Gaza and forcibly displace Palestinians from the West Bank, then this so-called Palestinian state will be nothing more than a tiny, fragmented area, possibly just a small neighborhood within Israel. In reality, it wouldn't be a state at all. They might carve out a small section of land in the West Bank and call it a state. This is why Smotrich, representing the extreme right, seemed extremely satisfied with Trump's statements." However, the most shocking part of this Financial Times article written by Andrew England is his assertion that Arabs never imagined they would be waiting for Trump, whom they once saw as a savior, only to realize he is adopting the extreme right-wing's dreams. One striking moment highlighted in the article was when Trump adjusted Netanyahu's chair for him, something you'll see for yourself in the footage. Have you ever seen Trump adjusting a chair for any leader or official before? Never. The fact that he did this for Netanyahu is a severe humiliation. This moment proves that the expectations of Arabs were entirely wrong. Trump came back with a vengeance against the Middle East. Now let's move on to another article from Reuters, which highlights Trump's real agenda. He initially promoted America first, but now he's pursuing what could be called America More. What does America More mean? It means expanding American influence beyond just America first. Trump now openly talks about acquiring Greenland from Denmark, taking control of the Panama Canal, and even annexing Canada as the 51st US state. And by the way, Trump himself said this, "I will annex Canada and make it the 51st state." And now it seems that Trump is aspiring to take control of Gaza. According to a Reuters article, it appears that in order for Trump to achieve America first, or bring the country back to its golden era, he believes he must first accomplish America more, which means acquiring land or making deals over these territories. This is extremely dangerous. Referring back to the Financial Times article, it highlights the immense shock among Arabs. They never imagined that Trump would return seeking revenge against them in this way, especially since many Arab countries were close allies of Trump during his first term. It seems now that Trump doesn't care about anyone in the region. Take note of something important. When Trump spoke with Netanyahu yesterday, he didn't even acknowledge the strong Arab opposition to his first statement about relocating Palestinians from Gaza to Egypt and Jordan. Since the moment he made that statement, and up until now, Trump has completely ignored the developments that followed. For example, multiple Arab nations, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar and Jordan, issued unified statements urging Trump not to proceed with such plans and instead pledge to rebuild Gaza. Egypt even moved military units, and mass protests erupted along the border with Gaza, reflecting overwhelming public outrage. Trump also ignored President Sisi's direct statement rejecting the plan and overlooked Jordan's warnings of severe consequences. None of these reactions mattered to him. The only thing he focused on was Israel's interests. So how did Trump come up with the idea of displacing Gaza's residents? There are conflicting views on this. According to Financial Times journalist Andrew England, Trump was merely reiterating the statements of Jared Kushner, his son-in-law and senior advisor. Kushner had previously suggested that Gaza had valuable coastal resources, and Trump simply repeated this statement, demonstrating Kushner's deep influence on decision-making, even if he remains out of the spotlight. However, Axios contradicts this and argues that the plan to displace Palestinians from Gaza was entirely Trump's own idea. The outlet claims that Trump had been studying the proposal for 2 months on his own. Both theories are plausible for one key reason. Trump has always relied on Kushner when dealing with the Middle East. However, this time, during his second term, Trump does not want Kushner to be a public figure in his administration. Meanwhile, if Trump truly devised this plan alone, that would be even more alarming, especially considering that several key US government positions remain unfilled. For example, the US Secretary of Health was only appointed yesterday, meaning the administration is still incomplete, and yet Trump is already pushing such major geopolitical strategies. The bottom line is that this reflects an American ambition to resolve the Middle East conflict in a way that prioritizes Israel's interests while excluding Arab nations from the equation. Trump is determined to execute this vision despite the fact that it could escalate terrorism in Sinai and destabilize Jordan. Yet he remains fixated on his plan, believing it to be the ultimate challenge that previous US presidents avoided, but that he can achieve. A crucial question arises. Is Trump making these extreme statements as a negotiation tactic, much like a real estate deal? In other words, is he setting an outrageous demand so that when talks begin, he can accept a lesser outcome while still gaining major concessions? Some argue that even real estate moguls don't employ such reckless tactics. This has gone beyond a business deal and turned into outright madness. Even CNN titled its article on the matter, "The Most Insane Idea in Middle East History." So the big question remains, will Trump actually execute these plans? Or is this all just talk? Could he be setting the stage for a deal? Could this simply be a dream? Could he just be misleading Netanyahu? Ultimately, whatever Trump's intentions may be, the real question is, what will Arabs do in response? Trump has been escalating tensions, so how will Arab leaders react? Meanwhile, Middle East Eye has reported a significant military development. Jordanian forces have been moving towards the Israeli border near the West Bank. This suggests that Jordan is preparing for the possibility of mass Palestinian displacement into its territory. While Jordan has consistently opposed any forced displacement, its military maneuvers indicate that it is bracing for the worst-case scenario. At the same time, Israel has also mobilized military units towards its border with Jordan. This suggests that Israel, too, is preparing for a possible forced migration of Palestinians into Jordan. This is a critical and alarming sign. Why should you know that Jordan's military movements are a form of pressure on Netanyahu and Donald Trump? If Palestinians are displaced, Jordan won't be the only one affected. the entire region will be on the brink of war. If you want to push for peace, war often accelerates the process. This is Jordan's first practical declaration on the matter. Secondly, King Abdullah of Jordan stated that the border between Palestine and Jordan is rugged, filled with mountains similar to those in Afghanistan. He hinted that jihadists, who are strongly motivated to fight against Israel, could launch suicide operations inside Israeli territory. He frankly admitted that controlling these mountainous regions might become impossible at any moment. These statements from Jordan's king and military about border instability with Israel are extremely serious. Now, if Jordan has indeed moved military units, as reported by Middle East Eye, do you think Egypt will stay silent? I highly doubt it. Israeli sources have released satellite images showing Egyptian military movements near Israel's border. Israeli newspapers have begun to discuss the presence of a significant number of Egyptian military assets on the border. It's important to note that these military units are not equipped to handle civilians, which is a crucial point. If Jordan, which has a less advanced military compared to Egypt, takes action, it increases the pressure on Egypt to respond, and Egypt is already taking steps in that direction. But the bigger question is, if Donald Trump truly wants peace, why is he inciting conflict? The Arab world will not remain silent. The only way to counter Trump's actions is through an intense Arab reaction, popular, diplomatic and military. No one is immune from these developments. Trump is effectively handing over the West Bank to Jordan and has openly expressed his desire to extend Israeli sovereignty over parts of the West Bank. He also supports plans to relocate Palestinians from Gaza. If this scenario unfolds, it won't just affect Jordan. It will also impose a new reality on Saudi Arabia. If Trump facilitates the transfer of Palestinian land to Israel and creates a fragmented Palestinian state through forced displacement, Saudi Arabia will be forced to accept it. If Gulf states and Arab nations, including those that signed the Abraham Accords like Morocco, remain silent, they will be the next targets. This concerns Egypt as well. Regardless of personal opinions about Egypt, it remains the most powerful military force in the Middle East and is stationed on Israel's borders. Trump reportedly spent 2 months deliberating on his decision, but ultimately he is determined to implement it. If he imposes this reality, how will weaker nations with no military presence near Israel respond? The only way to counter Trump is through a unified and forceful Arab reaction. He must see the consequences of his actions. Whether or not the Arab world is willing to negotiate, Trump is treating this like a real estate deal, raising the stakes to see what he can get. The problem is that previous Arab responses haven't deterred him, so escalation is necessary. Jordan is already putting the military option on the table. According to Middle East Eye, Jordan is now more open to military confrontation with Israel. King Abdullah knows that if a massive influx of Palestinians enters Jordan, his reign could be in jeopardy. Jordan recently survived an attempted coup in 2021, so this isn't a far-fetched scenario. If Jordan's Palestinian population grows from 3 million to 4 million, it will destabilize the country, which already struggles with economic difficulties. This is a direct threat to Jordan's monarchy. The Financial Times has reported on this issue. These are not just personal opinions. This situation demands unity. It's not about personal hopes for Arab solidarity. This is an unavoidable reality. Egypt alone cannot pressure Trump into reversing his plans. Neither can Jordan. No individual Arab state can. Trump sees Israel as a strategic asset, and he is committed to fulfilling its ambitions, particularly because some of his largest campaign donors have strong ties to Israel. Simply put, Trump wants to turn Israel's dreams into reality at the expense of the entire region. His vision for the new Middle East involves fulfilling Israel's territorial ambitions. He must understand that this approach puts Israel at risk and that the region will not accept it. Even mentioning such plans is an insult to every Arab nation, not just Egypt. Trump must see real consequences for his words. Should President Sisi cancel his visit to the United States, that's not a solution. Avoiding dialogue won't change Trump's stance. The real question is whether Sisi will make concessions while at the White House. From what I understand, negotiations will take place, and the future of Sinai depends on Sisi's meeting with Trump. I'm not suggesting that Sinai will be lost or that Egypt will abandon it, but this meeting is critical. It's an opportunity to confront Trump directly. Jordan's military movements along Israel's borders will put additional pressure on Sisi, whether Jordan accepts it or not. This is a crucial moment for the future of Sinai and the Middle East. Some may see Netanyahu's meeting with Trump as historic, but the same must be said for Sisi's meeting with Trump. Regardless of personal opinions about Sisi or the Egyptian military, he is the only Arab leader who will speak with Trump directly. He is the only one who will be officially asked to hand over parts of Sinai. This isn't exaggeration or sensationalism. The global media is filled with reports on this issue. If you saw the number of headlines in international newspapers, you wouldn't believe it. Even Reuters has conducted polls in the United States on expanding American influence, suggesting that Americans care little about acquiring territories like Greenland, Gaza, Panama, or even parts of Canada. Trump's approach isolates the United States and antagonizes the world. If he believes Arabs will accept this passively, he is mistaken. These are difficult times for all Arabs, particularly Egyptians. Now is not the time for internal divisions or political disagreements. This is about land and sovereignty. Trump wants to allocate parts of Sinai to the Palestinians, erase the Palestinian cause, and forcibly displace Gaza's population. He sees them as people without rightful claims to their land. He believes that by relocating them to other countries and providing housing and jobs, he will bring peace. But this is not peace, it's forced displacement. I hope I have explained this issue clearly. The coming days will be challenging. Trump's moves in the Middle East won't be fully understood in just 4 days. Today, even Arab officials have admitted they don't fully grasp what Trump is planning. And these are government officials, not just analysts.